This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trends in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. You know, it's a very special day for some of my friends, my very dear friends, my husband's and my very dear friends, Linda and Skip Bowling. Now, let me give you a little background on them. Linda and I met when we joined a philanthropic group, my goodness, almost 30 years ago. And that is ARCS, Achievement Rewards for College Scientists. So we've always called each other our charity sorority sisters. But it's a great group. We enjoy supporting it, and they have lots of wonderful galas and fundraisers and things like that. So that's how we met. Skip was in the C-suite in the aeronautics business. So that's how they moved out here from the South. We've always referred to Linda as a Southern belle. She is gorgeous. And guess what they're doing now? They're celebrating their 67th anniversary. Yay, Linda and Skip. We're so happy for you, and we wish you many, many, many more. You'll all get to meet Linda and Skip. I haven't told them this yet, but the last election in, I believe it was 2016, when Trump was running for president the first time, they came on the show, and they even postponed going to a trip in Mexico where they have a lovely house so that they could come on my show. That's when we were doing it in studio. So that's what good friends they are. We've shared many fun times. So happy, happy anniversary, and go out and celebrate and have a good time. I'll tell you one more thing. I am blessed. Tomorrow is my birthday. And yes, I'm going to be 77. I'm one of the people that has been chosen to live on this earth for a little bit longer. And I think it's my responsibility to help others do the same. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm blessed like this. So we're going to go out with two really good friends tomorrow. Tomorrow is my actual birthday. And we're going to go out to a wonderful Mexican restaurant here in Palm Springs that I'm really excited about. These friends of ours have taken us there once before when we were down here looking for someplace to buy and live down here. So we're excited about that. And I truly am blessed. And I thank God every morning because I'm still here. Okay, now, I have said this many times. You know what the title of the show is, Cause and Effect, the verdict. Well, we have no verdict, okay? Could it be that we have no crime and therefore we can't have a verdict? Because there's nothing to pardon, to say you didn't do it, because there's no crime. I don't know. They've thrown something else in today. I don't know how they can change what the charges are and things like this. I'm not understanding the way this courtroom is being run. And I will have to tell you, I've been watching it pretty closely because I thought maybe what I would consider a great verdict would be dismiss it, get rid of it, not guilty. But that's my opinion. You may have your own opinion. But let me just tell you what's been going on. Of course, President Trump, former President Trump, being so clever as he is, has not been allowed to campaign at all. He has a gag order, and he's been fined several times for what the judge thinks are against that gag order, saying things like that. So former President Trump has been very careful of what he's been saying lately, because this is piling up. This amount of money for all the attorneys and gag orders and all of this stuff, this is ridiculous. So he hasn't been campaigning, but he is clever enough to have other people speak for him during this time. And he has had many, many people come to the courthouse and watch. And they've been everything from attorneys that specialize in government law and defend all sorts of people. They're wonderful legal eagles. And he's also have had senators, governors, congressmen, congresswomen. It's been remarkable. They've all packed the courthouse and been listening to this. And yet we still don't know what the charge is, what the crime is, I should say. There are 34 indictments for different things. I don't even understand half of them. Okay, so that's what's going on. The latest congressman has spoken out on this and called it a tragedy and a travesty of justice. Is Congressman Ralph Norman from South Carolina. He was pretty hot under the collar when he was discussing all this. Everybody is very upset over this because it seems everything is being changed. We're reading the instructions to the jury. Why they couldn't have a copy of it is beyond me. I just don't understand. But when you have something that's 55 pages long or longer, I don't know, then you have to send a note out to the judge, and the judge will read it to you. How are these jurors supposed to remember what is being said in these instructions? It's crazy. And there's all different ways that President Trump could be sentenced. Everything from jail to monetary fines again. Really, seriously, we're going to take a man like this and put him in Rikers Island for nothing? And yet, we have another trial starting right now of somebody named Hunter Biden. Well, now, do you recall how they kept saying that Hunter Biden's laptop was another Russian hoax? I don't think so. But now they are trying to say that there are things on Hunter Biden's laptop that aren't true. Who knows? Who knows what's going on? But he does have a gun charge against him, and people actually saw him. This is not a Jussie Smollett made-up thing. The guy is, in my opinion, he seems to be, and I'm not a psychologist, but he seems to be criminally inclined. So that is starting up. Well, this is getting interesting. How long is this going to go on? Now, this is Thursday. We thought it would be wrapped up midweek this week. It doesn't look like it will be. I just don't know. It's craziness. Somebody else who said something, and then I'll tell you what I think. I know you're interested in what I think. A former Governor Mike. What is wrong with me? You know who I mean. No. Well, anyway, you know. Huckabee. It just went right out of my head. Former Governor Mike Huckabee, when he was wrapping up what he was saying to somebody interviewing him yesterday, and I heard him, I believe it was on Fox, and he said, this is getting to be very dangerous, and I have to agree with him. And he said, I'm calling for all Americans to pray for President Trump because it's getting dangerous. And if they've already sent, he did not say this is my post note on it. If they've already gone into Mar-a-Lago with guns and rifles, who knows what some crazy person out there is going to do? So I think he should be extremely careful too. Now, one good thing is he has security because he's a former president. I'm sure he has his own personal security at Mar-a-Lago. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I've not been to Mar-a-Lago since he bought it. I was there before as a guest, and it's exquisite. And that brings up the tax thing of what he claimed the value was and what the judge claimed it was. And the judge, or whomever was advising him, claimed that Mar-a-Lago was only worth $13 million. Well, I got to tell you, it's on the intercoastal and it's on the beach. What is wrong with these people? Don't you know what property values are in some place like Palm Beach? This is craziness. They're making things up as they go along. So let's talk about security for just a minute. Now, you know, we have 5 people running for president. And some of them are on the ballot and some aren't. I'm not quite sure who is, but I do know that Senator, getting all my people mixed up today, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is on the ballot in many, many states. So he's got so many states he's on the ballot. Now he can be on the national ballot. You all know that his uncle and his father were both assassinated. And anybody who is running for president and is on the ballot, such as these 3 people now, Biden, Trump, and Senator Kennedy, they're entitled to security from the United States Secret Service. Biden won't give him any security. The man's already had 2 relatives assassinated in places where there were hundreds of thousands of people around, and yet they got assassinated. What is wrong with this administration that this is the way they campaign? By doing sneaky, rotten things. I know this is not a political show, but it is when our liberties are taken away from us and taken away from people we want to vote for. This is just craziness. We're descending into something that I would describe as a 3rd world country. It's okay. And President Biden has come right out and said so. I heard him say it today when they were protesting for Floyd. They didn't do anything to take care of them. Biden said it was okay that they were protesting, but he still says that the peaceful people who went to the Capitol building after the 2020 election were seditionists, were traitors, and he's locked them up. Do you know there are still people locked up by themselves in different cells from that January 6th peaceful protest? Now, I believe there are a couple who have been sentenced to things. Their trial has come and gone, and maybe some of them did things. I don't know exactly what they did, but they have been convicted. So if they did something that it's convictable, then I think they should be locked up, but I don't know what they did. I haven't followed that one quite as closely as some of the other things. But that was pretty much a peaceful demonstration. What was President Trump supposed to say or do when he felt that this election was rigged, basically? He should have protested it. I sat in front of my television that time and I watched people stuffing the ballot box in the middle of the night. I saw people taking things and moving them in rooms that people were counting ballots, all this crazy stuff. I don't know. I mean, he's not allowed to talk about that anymore, but we don't want another crazy election like that. That is for sure. Now, there's some question, and nobody seems to have the right answer. If President Trump is convicted of something, will he be able to vote? Because convicted felons are not allowed to vote. There are some movements, particularly in the white collar crime area, that have been in prison for a long time and should be allowed to vote. I don't know about somebody who murders someone if they're a convicted felon. I don't know if they should have a vote. I don't know how you would divide those people up and let white collar crime that's been convicted felons, how you would let them vote and nobody else that was a convicted felon. But I don't think that people who have done nonviolent crimes should be disenfranchised from voting. So if President Trump should be convicted even one charge and it's a felony, would he be disenfranchised? Would he be put into a cell in Rikers Island? I've heard and read that the Secret Service is already making plans in case he does have to go. They've gone in there, they've looked at cells, they've looked at where you go shower, they've looked at everything. So how are they going to put a president of the United States in Rikers Island? Well, they didn't know what to do with Napoleon either. And you know, these people are comparing Trump to Hitler, to dictators. There is this Trump derangement disease that has pervaded the country. I don't see how anybody can hate somebody that much. Hitler was different. He was killing people. This does not make sense to me. What this president did was make our economy better, made our military stronger, got along, and was able to communicate with other leaders of the world. Inflation was not 9% when Biden came into office. That's an outright lie. Now, you know, on The View, I've seen many clips of this on other news stations as well as on Fox. I've seen it on MSNBC, CBS, CNN. Dr. Jill, President Biden's secretary wife, I think she says everything right now. She was being interviewed by Joy, who shares no joy with anyone. However, she was talking to her and Dr. Jill was asked how much would she be campaigning, and she said she's already been out on the road and talking to people. And then they asked her, well, what about President Biden? She said, oh, he'll do a lot of campaigning. He'll be out on the road. And she made a mistake. She started to say, just as much as he can handle, or just as much as he's being able to, something to that effect. And she said, well, he'll just do everything he wants to do, basically is what she said. So everybody knows that President Joe Biden is in declining health. Now, we all get older, and some of us have more problems. Apparently, I do today, as I'm forgetting everybody's names. Um, People have problems as they're aging, but our president is not able to even carry on a 10-minute speech without garbling it up. He does this with foreign ambassadors and foreign leaders. He still can't find his way off stage. I don't know. I don't think he's capable, quite frankly, of carrying out another 4 years. Sometimes I'm wondering if he can finish this term. And what in the world is he going to do at the convention? Or maybe we should ask this question: what in the world are the Democrats going to do at this convention? Because it's going to be, if you know, it's going to be Kamala Harris is still on the ticket. And if they take him out at the last minute, will they put her in as president and somebody else in as VP on their when they're voting for their delegates? Or will they wait and have him on the ticket and then replace him as they start to campaign? Oh, he has an illness, he needs to be replaced, and we've done another vote, and it's Michelle Obama. I keep hearing that all the time. Now, I don't really have anything against Michelle Obama. I don't think she ever really wanted to be in the White House. I would venture to guess there's a lot of women who don't really want to be in the White House as First Lady, or in Kamala's case, he would be First Gentleman. It's a big job, and you have to have your own projects going on, but you have to be at luncheons for senators and congressmen's wives and governor wives, and nobody really knows. It's not just decorating for Christmas. It's a big job, and that's why first ladies have their own office and assistants. So we don't know what's going on. Do you think it has anything to do with the verdict today? Is that what's going to decide the Democrats' minds about who they will run? Look at the fundraisers that President Biden is having. Now, in my younger years, I've always voted and I've always been involved in one way or another in presidential and governor and senator and congressmen's running for office because I enjoy it and I want to know what's going on in our country. So I've done that from a pretty young age. My grandma would take me down when General Eisenhower was running for president, and we would go into these rooms at schools like auditoriums or the cafeteria or something. And this was the day when you had stamps. You had stamps on big sheets, and you'd have to take the stamp off, tear it off, because they were serrated, but they had no sticky stuff on them. So you'd have to lick them or put them on a sponge to put them on the postcard or the letter or the envelope or whatever we were mailing out. And that was my introduction to working for elections. Fortunately, they have stick-em stuff on them now. So what do you think? Now, as I was starting to say, President Biden, to raise any money, he can't raise any money unless he has people like former President Obama and former President Bill Clinton. I think Hillary is still trying to get herself back in there. I think she should step back and not embarrass herself. But I don't know. I have no idea what's going on. Well, I will tell you, I think it's very dangerous. I think it's dangerous to have people go into Mar-a-Lago with guns and rifles and basically a shoot to kill, like maybe somebody wanted to assassinate him and he wasn't there. Who knows? There are third world countries, which we have become a third world country. There are people that turn in the government against the democratic government. You know, the fifth column, we've talked about the fifth column before. Those are the people who are against the government and want to take it over. Who's to say that's not going to happen between now and the election? Now, what do you think about the debates? I don't know that President Biden is capable of standing up there. Now, some people said in one of the other debates he wore an earpiece. It was very difficult to see. You know, they don't have long hair like we have and you can hide it. But they have them so small now that somebody accused him of getting the answers like that. I've never heard that denied or accepted in one way or the other. I'm just saying this is what happens in some other debates around the country, or even in high school or college, in debate club, I would assume. So we don't know what will happen. He's already asked that they sit down for the debate. Well, I'll tell you, when you get to be 77, it's hard to stand up for an hour and a half. You need a podium to lean on, and I don't know if you can take notes or not, but President Trump always speaks off the cuff. He is never tired. He has more energy than I have. And let me tell you, my daughter and my husband and everybody I know says I have boundless energy. Well, I personally don't think I do right now, but that's what they think. Trump just runs around like the Energizer bunny. And not only that, he speaks, as I just said, off the cuff. He never uses notes. He only uses a teleprompter if he is saying who's at the rally, like a list of congressmen, a list of senators, people like that, because he doesn't want to forget somebody inadvertently. And that's the only time he uses a teleprompter. He's got the answer up here. And yes, we're the same age. I wish I had his energy. So, what do you think? Do you think that President Biden will try to back out? Now, I'll tell you another rumor I've heard about him, and it's even been in print and on television, that when he gave the State of the Union address, people have talked about how he seemed to be more full of energy that night than usual. And in some of his campaigning speeches, he has too, particularly if they're only 10 minutes. So I've heard a rumor that Adderall is being used. And you know, Adderall is used for people who need it for school, teenagers, and all. There's good reason to use Adderall in many cases. But that would certainly hype up somebody who's going to be older, 80 plus. So I don't think that's the greatest thing to have to do, to put your president on drugs. Now, there used to be rumors about Jackie and John Kennedy and how they managed to do everything as much as they did, particularly with President Kennedy's bad back that he hurt when he was wounded on the PT boat. So they used bee pollen. Bee pollen in the natural health and food industry is very common to use for energy, and it doesn't hurt you. So they used that. I don't know what he's using. I don't know if any other president has used anything. Who knows? I just know President Kennedy was under a lot of pain, and he used his rocking chair all the time to ease it and move it so that it would ease up a little bit. So we could go back in history and talk about some of the other presidents that were assassinated, that were shot and wounded, that had polio. And dire effects from that and how they carried on with their term. But none of them had the lack of mental clarity that I feel our president has today. That's my opinion. You make your own opinion. Listen to all the news, read all the papers, figure it out. I think some of the statistics coming out when President Biden goes and visits these people, it's a little strange to me. I have several Black friends that I went to school with, and I've remained friends with them. I have other Black friends throughout my life. They're still my friends. I had a Black young man live with us. He called me mom. He lived with us for a year. We took him on vacation with us. His dad was running a hospital out here, and he needed somebody full time. You know, you're in high school and you kind of need to be guided through things. You're not quite ready to live on your own. So we had Jelani live with us. Sweetest boy I ever knew. So he was my son's friend, and we had him live with us. So I don't have I don't have a prejudiced bone in my body. That's just the way I was raised. And the only reason I ever bring it up is because I don't understand it with other people. So if I was campaigning, I would never be going around to Black neighborhoods and saying, yeah, some of these people want to put you in chains. You know, you get sick because there are no doctors. Nobody wants to come into your neighborhood, this and that. He says such derogatory things, and there are problems in all of the sections of our country. We need to do a better job with more jobs and how these people live, any kind of people that don't have a lot of money. I would be insulted if I was a Black person and he just came in and said, we're going to eat barbecue. Well, do you think that's all Black people eat? And then he goes and he talks to some Chinese people who does the same. And Dr. Jill, who should know better, makes fun of Mexican food. I told you we're going to a Mexican restaurant tomorrow night to celebrate. I don't know. To me, he's kind of inducing more prejudicial acts against people in our country of color. I just don't get it. Let's talk about sex. Everybody likes to talk about sex. Why did that judge allow Stormy Daniels to talk about such salacious acts so everybody could hear? You know, I don't approve of men who cheat on their wives, but that's my opinion. I'm sure that this has caused some strife between Melania and Donald lately, but she is loyal to him. She loves him. She has a wonderful son with him. But what the heck? Why do you have Stormy Daniels testify about all the sordid details? It has nothing whatsoever to do with this trial. This is something about business expenses and all of this stuff. What does it go to? That he wanted to keep his reputation clean? Well, everybody already knows he left Ivanka for his next wife. I can't even think of her name right now. And then he left her for Melania. These women weren't complaining. Not one of them have ever said a bad word about President Trump. Everybody has different arrangements for their marriages. I know how mine is. I don't condone that. My husband wouldn't condone that. But that's our business. That's what we think. I think this judge simply wanted to sort of get off. I'm not going to explain that remark, but I think he enjoyed these descriptions of the sex. Why else would he have even had it in there? This is craziness. And why would he put the jury through this? I'm sure some of them were disgusted with it. This judge, to me, has gone off the deep end. To me, it's very clear that this trial is about one thing: keeping former President Trump from being on the ballot and running for President of the United States one more time. They want to destroy him. They hate him. It's like a fever raging in them. I hate Trump. I hate Trump. I hate Trump. Well, I'm not fond of Biden, but I'm not going around making fun of him or saying, I think it's disgusting to make fun of him, by the way. I think he's sick, physically sick, and maybe mentally sick because his mind is degrading. But I don't like all of these cartoons and racy jokes about him. And I don't like them about any president. We're supposed to respect our president. We're losing all of the niceties in this country. We used to be a country everybody looked up to. And now we're turning into something that's much worse. Third world country. And here we go with a judge that's trying to monetarily ruin Trump, ruin his reputation. There's no crime. What about getting Hunter to get his sister in on his trial and ask her what her father, President Joe Biden, why he had her take showers when she was a pretty developed young woman, young girl. To me, that's horrifying, all right? What about President Biden going around anytime there's kids in the White House or at some function, and he goes around sniffing their hair? It's disgusting. It's pedophilia, okay? I don't like this. We better really think about what's going on and talk about people going to Epstein's Island. You know, he was a businessman too, and I'm not condoning what he did. I think it's disgusting, and I think he was murdered in prison. But a lot of people, like Alan Dershowitz, thought it was more like a networking group of business people going to this island, having dinner and things like that, and getting to know other people's businesses and things like that. Many of them were put on that airplane thinking that's what they were going to. And when they got to the island, they said, hey, I want to leave. So they're trying to ruin a lot of people's reputations by saying they were there, and they actually left as soon as they could. Most of the people that went there were Democrats. Just saying. So, I don't know. I think it shows a lot that people stand out in front of the courthouse to see President Trump and scream his name and we're for you and we're this and that. And if you look at the numbers of people who come to a President Biden rally, maybe 200 people, most of the time less. And you look at a Trump rally, and you literally have 100,000 people there that have been camping out 2 nights just to be there. Now, in the 2016 election, I was fortunate enough to go to a Trump rally, but it was because it was businesswomen of California, and it was at the Anaheim Convention Center. And I was invited, and I would guess that were about maybe 100 of, maybe not that many, of the businesswomen, outstanding businesswomen, they called it, to go to this Trump rally. Of course, they wanted you to be a Republican, I'm sure, but I don't remember them even asking that. They just wanted to know if you were a Trump supporter. Of course I am. I don't hide it. So that was a very interesting time for me. It was the first presidential rally I've ever been to. And we were gathered into a side room at the convention center, and there were chairs there for us to sit in. It was very nice. And all of the people who are out campaigning, like President Trump or Robert F. Kennedy Jr., these people have these rooms where they honor people who are big supporters. So we were there, and there were, of course, several other groups that were having a special visit from President Trump. He did not hurry one time. He came into that room. He was a few minutes late, maybe 15 minutes late. So the entire convention was late, or rally was late. But he came into that room. He had a podium. Before that, he shook everybody's hand as he was going up to the podium. He stood at that podium and he spoke for, I would say, a good 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour. It was a long time. And after that, he signed whatever you wanted him to sign. And I'm not too pushy and things like this. I don't separate the crowd and sign mine. But I was standing back behind maybe 3 or 4 people, and I caught his eye, and he smiled, and I smiled, and I had my cell phone in my hand because I was snapping pictures. And he said, and so I walked up to the front, and he signed the back of my cell phone, which I cherish. So that's how kind he is. He wants to talk to everybody, and he is interested in everybody. And it's not just for your vote. Of course, he wants your vote, but he wants to help you. That's what he wants to do. So I don't think I'll go to another Trump rally, because I don't think I want to go 2 nights in a row and camp out. I was talking to my engineer about camping this morning, and I used to camp all the time, but my idea of camping is not going and sleeping on the asphalt with 200,000 other people yelling and screaming for Trump. So I think I'll skip the next one. But that was fun. And I must say, before that Trump rally, I was also invited to my friend's house, Susie, and she had some of the Republicans come to her house. So that was very fun. And that was a small group. And I got to meet John Voight, and I got to meet Pat Boone. Okay, those are the perks. I'm so old. See, I love these people. Well, John Voight and I are practically the same age, and Pat Boone is not that much older. So those things are fun, but they're also so informative. They will tell you all of their plans. If they have questions, if you have questions, they'll answer them. They don't shy away from them. But they're on a schedule, man. And when it's time for them to go, they go. A lot of times you're told that there's somebody in the front taking checks. You don't have to write a check. The people that I've seen, I have written a check for, because I believe that as long as they can stay in the pre-running till people have a front runner, it's good to hear what they have to say. So that's just about all I have to say today. Just let me look at my notes here. Oh, so who is voting for Trump and who is voting for Biden? You know, I get a kick when they have the man on the street or the woman on the street and they're going up to these people. And of course, there's a lot of funny ones too. They ask, who did we fight in World War II? And these college kids have no idea what you're even talking about. That's stupid. But when they're asking, who do you want to vote for? Literally 90% or more of the people interviewed on a quickie with a microphone on the street say either this statement, I won't vote for Biden. Well, why wouldn't you vote for Biden? Because I can't afford my groceries. Because I don't want to buy an electric vehicle. Just all sorts of things. There are people who think that we might get in war, and I'm one of them. I am frightened, and you should be frightened too. Then there are the other ones who say, well, I'm voting for Trump. There's nobody else to vote for. He's the one who had us in the best economy. Our country was safer. And there they are on the street. And these are young people, Black people, Chinese people, Mexican people, white people. Ugh. What more do you want? Go ahead. You can get me at judithmancini.com. You can email me and tell me your thoughts, and I will read them or I will mention them on the next show. Again, I want to wish my friends Linda and Skip a very happy 67th anniversary. And I do hope you'll come and speak to us on the election this time also. I would love to have you. We do it remotely now. You don't need to come to the studio, so no excuses. And I want you to remember that it's your vote. You shouldn't let somebody coerce you into voting. You have your own mind. They're secret votes. At least they're supposed to be. And I urge you to really look at the issues and how you think that these two men will handle them. Don't forget, at the end of June, we supposedly have a debate between former President Trump and President Biden. Well, I don't know if I've already said this today, but Biden's already asked for the podium and to stand up. He can't stand up forever, and you don't want to debate sitting down. And remember what I said about the earpiece. You can get your questions. If you think it's something that's not been covered, you could probably send them into the network that is sponsoring this event and ask the moderators to ask your question if it's something that they think would be really great. All right. I thank you all for tuning in today. I always love having you here. And I want to remind you, cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today.